What kind of neighbor calls the police over a car parked in your own driveway? I was just opening my garage door, the creaky old thing groaning like it always did, when I saw her hoa Karen, as the neighborhood called her, storming across the street, her phone pressed to her ear, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. Yes. 911. She's stealing my car. Right now. I'm watching her. She shrieked, pointing at me like I was some mastermind criminal. My heart skipped a beat. I was in sweatpants, holding a coffee mug, the morning sun barely peeking over the rooftops of our quiet cul-de-sac. Stealing her car. I barely had time to process before two police cruisers pulled up, lights flashing, tires screeching, and suddenly my morning was a nightmare. I'd moved to this suburban neighborhood 6 months ago, hoping for peace after years in the city. My name's Lena, and I'm a graphic designer. The kind who likes her routines, coffee at 7, sketches by 8, maybe a jog if I'm feeling ambitious. The house was a fixer-upper, but it was mine, and I loved the idea of a fresh start. The neighborhood seemed perfect: kids on bikes, neat lawns, friendly waves. Except for HOA. She was the self-appointed queen of the HOA, a woman whose presence could sour milk from 10 yards away. She'd glare if your grass was a half-inch too long, leave passive-aggressive notes about approved mailbox colors, and once find a family for their kids' chalk drawings on the sidewalk. Everyone whispered about her, but nobody challenged her. I kept my head down, nodding politely when she'd lecture me about my unacceptable rose bushes. But this was war. Ma'am, step away from the vehicle. One of the officers barked, his hand resting on his holster. My stomach dropped. The car in question was my beat-up blue Honda, parked in my own driveway. I'd bought it used, a practical choice for my budget, and it had been mine for years. HOA was screaming now, her face red, her arms flailing. That's my car. She stole it. I've been telling the HOA for weeks she's trouble. The second officer, younger, looked confused, glancing between us. I tried to explain, my voice shaking. This is my car. I have the title, the registration, everything's in my house. But HOA wasn't having it. She stepped closer, her eyes blazing. Liar. You think you can just move in here and take what's mine? The neighbors started to gather, peeking from windows, lingering on porches. I felt their eyes, the weight of their judgment. I wasn't just the new girl anymore. I was the thief, the troublemaker. My hands trembled as I fumbled for my phone to pull up proof. But HOA's accusations were relentless. She's been eyeing my property since she got here. Check her garage. Who knows what else she's hiding? The older officer raised a hand to silence her, but his eyes stayed on me. We'll need to see some documentation. Ma'am. I nodded, my throat tight, and turned to head inside. But HOA's voice followed me like a wasp. Don't let her run. She's probably got a whole operation in there. Inside, I grabbed my paperwork from the kitchen drawer, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. My mind raced. How had this escalated so fast? I'd never even spoken to HOA beyond polite hellos. Why was she doing this? As I stepped back outside, the younger officer was inspecting my car, running the plates. HOA was still talking, now to the neighbors, spinning a tale of how I'd been suspicious since day one. I handed over the registration, my voice steadier now. This is my car. I've owned it for 3 years. The VIN matches. Check it. The older officer took the papers, his face unreadable, while the younger one nodded. Plates check out. It's registered to her. Hoa's face twisted. But she didn't back down. She forged those. She's clever. I'll give her that. I wanted to scream. To ask why she hated me so much. But something in her eyes stopped me. It wasn't just anger, it was fear. What was she afraid of? The officers exchanged a glance. And the older one sighed. Ma'am, if you have proof of ownership, we need to see it now. Hoa blinked. Suddenly hesitant. It's at home. But I know that's my car. Her voice faltered. And for the first time, I saw a crack in her armor. Then came the twist. As the officers questioned her, a teenage boy pushed through the crowd. His face pale. Mom. Stop. He shouted. It was Hoa's son, Min. A quiet kid I'd seen riding his bike around. He looked mortified, his eyes darting between his mother and me. That's not our car. You know it's not. The crowd went silent. Hoa's jaw dropped, her hands clenching into fists. Min, stay out of this. She snapped, but he shook his head. You sold our old car months ago. You're mixing it up again. Again. My heart pounded. Was this a mistake? Or something deeper? Min's words hung in the air, and the officers turned back to Hoa, their expressions hardening. Ma'am, are you sure about your claim? The older officer asked, his tone sharp now. Hoa stammered, her confidence crumbling. I thought, it looks just like mine. But Min wasn't done. She's been confused lately, he said, his voice low, almost a whisper. She keeps thinking things are being stolen. It's not her fault. The crowd murmured, and I felt a pang of something unexpected pity. Hoa, the terror of the neighborhood, wasn't just a bully. Something was wrong with her. The officers stepped closer to Hoa, their questions more pointed now. If you don't have proof, making a false report is a serious offense. Hoa's face paled, and she backed up, her bravado gone. I should have felt triumphant, but all I could think about was Min's expression, the way he looked at his mother like he was trying to hold her together. The younger officer turned to me. You're clear, ma'am. We'll handle this. But Hoa wasn't listening. She was staring at her son, her eyes wet, her voice barely audible. I didn't mean to. The tension in the driveway was suffocating, like the air before a thunderstorm. Hoa stood there, smaller now, her shoulders hunched as the officers pressed her for answers. I could have walked away, gone back to my coffee and my quiet morning. But I stayed, rooted to the spot. Min's words echoed in my head. She's been confused lately. I looked at Hoa, really looked at her, and saw something I hadn't before. Her hands were trembling, her eyes darting like she was lost in her own neighborhood. The woman who'd terrorized us all was unraveling, and I wasn't sure if I was watching a villain's downfall or a tragedy unfolding. The older officer took Hoa aside, his voice low but firm. Ma'am, filing a false police report can lead to charges. Do you understand? Hoa nodded, but her gaze was distant, like she was replaying something in her mind. Min stayed close, his face a mix of embarrassment and protectiveness. The neighbors were whispering now, their curiosity turning to judgment. I heard snippets: dementia, stress. Maybe she's losing it. I wanted to hate her, to let her face the consequences of her actions. But something held me back. I'd seen that look before, in my grandmother's eyes, years ago when her memory started to slip. I stepped forward, my voice quieter than I expected. Officers, can I talk to her for a second? They looked surprised but nodded. Hoa's head snapped up, her eyes narrowing, but there was no fight left in her. I took a deep breath. Hoa, why did you think this was your car? She blinked, her lips parting, but no words came. Min answered for her. She had a blue Honda, just like yours. We sold it when Dad left. But she forgets sometimes. His voice cracked, and my chest tightened. I hadn't known about her husband, or much about her at all. I'd only seen the tyrant, not the woman behind her. I'm sorry, I said, and I meant it. Hoa looked at me, her expression caught between defiance and shame. I don't need your pity, she muttered, but her voice was weak. The officers were writing something down, and I knew what was coming. They'd take her in, maybe charge her, and the neighborhood would have its gossip for months. But I couldn't let it in like that. Wait, I said, louder this time. She made a mistake. Can we just let this go? I don't want to press charges. The officers exchanged a glance, and the younger one shrugged. If you're sure, ma'am. Hoa's eyes widened, and for a moment, I thought she'd lash out again. But she didn't. She just stood there, silent, as the officers packed up their things. The crowd started to disperse, disappointed by the lack of drama. Min touched his mother's arm, guiding her back toward their house. Before they left, he turned to me. Thank you, he said, his voice barely audible. I nodded, not sure what to say. As they walked away, I saw Hoa glance back. Just once. Her face unreadable. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. The neighborhood felt different, like the air had been let out of a balloon. I kept thinking about Hoa, about Min, about the weight of whatever she was carrying. I started asking around, discreetly. Turns out, Hoa's husband had left her a year ago, and she'd been struggling ever since, bills piling up. Min trying to hold things together. The Hoa was her way of keeping control, of pretending her world wasn't falling apart. I didn't know if it was dementia or just grief, but I knew she wasn't the monster I thought she was. A week later, I saw Min outside, mowing their lawn. I walked over, holding a tray of cookies I'd baked, nothing fancy. Just a gesture. For you and your mom, I said, feeling awkward. He looked surprised, but took them. She's having a bad day, he said, glancing at the house. But she's sorry. She won't say it, but she is. I nodded, my throat tight. Tell her it's okay. And if you guys need anything. I trailed off, not sure how to finish. He gave me a small smile, the kind that said more than words could. I went back to my routine: coffee, sketches, the occasional jog. But something had changed. I started waving to neighbors, not just nodding. I joined the HOA meetings, not to fight, but to listen. I even planted new rose bushes, the kind HOA would have hated. But I did it with a smile. The neighborhood wasn't perfect, and neither was I. But I realized something. We were all just trying to hold on to something: our homes, our pride, our stories. Hoa's outburst wasn't about me, or even the car. It was about her, fighting to keep her world from slipping away. Months later, I saw Hoa in her yard, watering her plants. She looked older, frilier, but she was there, tending to her roses. I waved, and to my surprise, she waved back. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Sometimes, the smallest gesture is a wave, a cookie, a choice not to press charges can start to heal something broken. I'd come to this neighborhood looking for peace, And I'd found something better, a chance to understand, to forgive, to build something new. And that was worth more than any quiet morning.